And then last August, you know, I spent a lot of time on the internet, as we all do, and I have always had a passion about property. And I came across a site that was advertising a networking event in Maidenhead called the Berkshire Property Meet. It was only £10 to attend, so I decided to go along. And at that meeting, what they do is they get all the key people to stand up and they introduce them. And I thought Mark and Rob looked the most handsome, so they were the ones that I aimed for. And I went up and introduced myself, and I have to say, I was very nervous. I went there on my own, a female. It's a very much a male-dominated environment, but I thought, I'm there, I need to take the opportunity. So I went up and spoke to Mark, introduced myself to him. To Rob, and he impressed me because he gave me a book. The first thing he asked was, have you read my book? And I said no. So he gave me the book without actually having to pay for it. And he said, you know, I trust you to call the office and make the payment. Now, he didn't know me from Adam, and I know a book probably is not a lot to them, but it just meant a lot to me. And so, should I just be going on, or am I just, sorry?
We haven't made any rules.
Sorry, sorry, no, you wanted me to tell you about myself, and then I should have stopped, I think, shouldn't I?
No, there's nothing you should or shouldn't do.
Sorry.
So, what I want to know, no, this is great, so this is fine. What I'd like, I think, everyone to know is, like obviously, you know, some sensitive things that you may not want to say, but if you don't mind being candid with everyone, you know, how, before you started investing in property, you know, what were the things that were challenging for you, and what made you go, you know, change other than the redundancy and get into property?
Okay, well, I mean, obviously my financial situation at this point was pretty dire. And I was just looking for something where I didn't want to go back into a job. I just didn't want to do that. But I had a lot of commitments financially that I still had to maintain. My husband is the most supportive person on the planet. He's the reason why I have an 11-year-old son who is absolutely you know, I just idolize him. So they were my reason. And you know, they're working really hard trying to support, you know, the family unit, or my husband. And I'm not doing anything. I'm not bringing any money in. And I've spent thousands and thousands and actually not got anything to show for it. So I was really driven to find something. And I always believed that property was you know, I think anybody, even me, can, you know, you buy a property and in long term it's going to go up, whatever happens. Like, we bought our own house and, you know, we made £150,000 on it in 3 years. But, you know, that was some time ago. That's when I was cash rich. You know, it was a completely different situation. I wanted to find, so I just thought property was the thing. So I wanted to find an event that I could go to that wasn't going to cost me much money, and that's what led me to go to the Berkshire Property Meet, which is where I met you guys.
And then since then, you came on another one of our...
Yes, and what happened, the conversation I had then to buy the book and pay for the book then led me to exactly this same event in October last year. And then from here, and again, you know, when you talk about property investors, to me, those are, the picture I conjure up is rich people, wealthy people. That's just the way that I see, you know, my vision of property investors. And I thought nobody can invest in property if they haven't got any money and they're poor and they're broke, basically, which is where I was. But I spoke to the guys and they said, come along, that's even more reason why you need to be here. So I came along to this very same event and I sat in the middle row, and from what I learned and what I heard, it was obvious that you didn't need to have money to invest in property. So that was all I needed to know, was that if I was prepared to face the challenges, which I knew there would be, but always, you know, in my mind know there was a solution, there was a way to get around it, then I could move forward. So from this event, this very same event, I then went on to their 2-day seminar, which took place in Wokefield Park in Reading on the 11th and 12th of October last year. And I got enough information, I got enough tools, I got enough...
What did you learn from this and there that you could share with people that's made the difference for you?
Well, the difference is obviously, I mean, networking is a massive thing, okay? I mean, I didn't know anything about property investing whatsoever, but I just took the opportunity to speak to as many people as I could, you know? And there are going to be people in this room that are cash rich, time poor. There are going to be people that are time rich, cash poor. So take the opportunity to speak to those people, and you'll find a solution for what you're looking for what your individual circumstances are. They may be the same as mine, they may not be the same as mine. But what it's taught me is that there is always a solution, there's always a way.
Okay, and since you came on the mask, I mean, because look, Deena is...
By the way, I had to borrow the money to go on the masterclass, the 2-day course.
And do you think that was worth it?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And again, because I had to borrow that money, I had to really, take the opportunity and make it work 100%. I couldn't just come out of that event and do nothing. So anyone in the room can do what I've done.
Deena is sorry to interrupt you, but
okay.
I'm probably going to have to.
Yes, no, you will have to.
Look, I know Deena very well, so I'm allowed to say that. And the reason I say this, Deena is not like everyone, in that, how many times have you emailed us since you've met us?
109.
109. Okay, so Deena has emailed us 109 times. Can you look at my leaflet? I spoke to this agent and I did this. He said this. And do you know what? That's what we want.
And by the way, they responded to every single email, some of them in nanoseconds.
So, Deena's just like one of many people who, because look, for every one of Deena, there's 10 people who unfortunately can't say the same thing because they've gone home and they're doing what they always did and getting what they always got. Yeah, which probably doesn't work for them.
But knowing nothing, I had to learn. I had to understand my market.
How many properties have you viewed? Because one thing we say at a lot of our events is, if you go out and you view 50 properties in the next 2 weeks, because we know no one will, you will buy 2 properties. What did you go and do?
I've now viewed 132 properties.
Right, there you go. So do you think when you viewed the 132nd, you knew more than you did the first?
Absolutely.
And have you had challenges along the way?
Loads. I've had loads of challenges, but I've learned so much. Yeah. I sat with 18 estate agents. I didn't just phone them up. I made appointments and went and sat in front of them. I met 14 letting agents. Again, I went and sat in front of them. I contacted all my local authorities and I sat with the housing manager. I set my strategy, and I'm looking for DSS, LHA tenants to put in my properties. So I wanted to understand my market. I wanted to understand whether there was any regeneration going on. How many people were on the waiting list for properties? I have 9,000 people in my 10-mile radius that are looking to be housed. 9,000 people. So I wanted to do all my homework and understand my market. I can go to any street now in the areas I'm working, and I will know what that property is on the market for. I look at Rightmove every day. I did my diligence. I know exactly what I'm looking for.
So of those properties that you viewed, how many did you offer on and what did you offer?
Okay, I offered on 85 properties.
And how much?
And I went in at 40% below.
And when you first did that, were you a bit nervous about taking the nicky out?
I was.
Actually, I know you were, because you told me, but I just said do it, because the worst that's going to happen is someone's going to throw it.
I had this, Keith, a friend of mine, laughed at me, and I said, because I had phone phobia. I just didn't want to pick up that phone and, tell someone that I wanted them to sell me their house 40% less than it was worth. And it took a lot to make that first call and have that first conversation. But once I did it, it got easier and easier and easier. And now I'm rejection-proof, as you call it. It doesn't matter. But all the time I'm building up those. It's so important to build those relationships. Simon stood up here at one of the meetings and said, I speak to my agents every day, and I thought, well, God, what would you say to an agent every day? You can't speak to agents every day. What would you say? But I've got 3 agents out of the 18 that I work with that I speak to every single day.
And what do you say then?
Well, they're phoning me and telling me about properties they've got. How are the ones that I'm working on? How is it going through? How is the valuation going? I just have a conversation with them every day. But if I'd have only looked at if I'd only met with 2 estate agents, those 2 could have been the 2 out of the 18 that weren't going to work with my strategy, and I didn't have a rapport with. Again, when I went to visit them, I marked them all out of 10. Some of them they couldn't find their way through to me through the mess and the paperwork that was on their desk. That's how I would see. That's how they would treat their customers and their clients. Do I want to deal with people like that? No, I don't. I just spent a lot of time doing all my research and all my diligence. But I had to, because you gave me the tools, you gave me the information, you gave me the confidence, and I just had to go out there and do it.
Good stuff or good stuff?